Hey everyone, welcome back to Topher Drives, where this week I've been daily driving this 2025 Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. Now this is a little bit of a strange one because under the hood of this Mazda CX-50 is not a Mazda powertrain at all. This actually has a 2.5 liter hybrid setup borrowed from a Toyota. So this week I've been driving around in what looks like a Mazda, but a lot of inputs feel like I'm driving a Toyota. So it's a little bit of a confusing experience that I'm looking forward to sharing with you all today as we commute this thing to downtown. We're going to show you what it looks like inside and out, and then of course we'll show you what it's like to daily drive it, to commute it, what it would be like if you had this as your commuter car. Now, so the brain and the heart of this are Toyota, but the skin and bones are still Mazda. So this still looks like a CX-50. The wheels are different. We've got hybrid badges on this, but it's still painted in soul red crystal metallic, the same color as Emily's CX-30 Turbo. So we've been couple goals this week, having both of our soul red Mazdas parked in the garage. But overall, this has been a nice experience. And kind of what I want to find out today is, does this make sense? Should Mazda have done this? Because don't think that Mazda is new to the hybrid game. This isn't even really their first mainstream hybrid in the US market. The CX-90 Turbo Inline 6 has a mild hybrid setup, and the four-cylinder Mazda CX-70 and CX-90 is a plug-in hybrid. And then over in Japan, they make an MX-30 rotary generator, weird thing like that. So while this isn't their first hybrid, I suppose it's their first kind of non-plug-in CVT four-cylinder hybrid. And I'm wondering if maybe they went with Toyota just to be safe, but also consider that the CX-50 is built in Mazda and Toyota's joint venture plant in Madison, Alabama, next to the Corolla Cross. So they have all of the tools, all of the sort of information that they need there in Alabama to make these Toyota hybrids. And now here we go, they've plopped out a CX-50 hybrid. Okay, that was a little bit long-winded to kind of explain the prophecy behind the CX-50 hybrid, but let's go ahead and poke around this thing. We'll show you what it looks like inside and out. We'll go ahead and pop this open. This is a Premium Plus CX-50 hybrid, so this one in front of me is about $42,000, though the CX-50 hybrid starts at 34 grand in its base preferred trim. Now the CX-50, we met it a couple of years ago, and I always thought that it was going to be the replacement for the CX-5, kind of like how the CX-30 replaced the CX-3 and the CX-90 replaced the CX-9, but yet the CX-5 still exists. I don't know. But what you need to know compared to the CX-5 is it's about the same size, but it's a little bit wider, a little bit shorter. Our load surfaces are a little bit different. In the trunk here, we have kind of a low and wide setup, lots of room for things, a nice load surface to load stuff in and out, and we do have a compact spare here under the trunk floor. No third row seat or anything crazy like that. This is just a 5-passenger SUV, and I mean, for the most part, it's really hard to tell that this isn't just a regular CX-50 while you're walking around it, and I think that that was the right way to go. They haven't over-hybridized this and made it super obnoxious. Here's something that's a little bit different, a 225/55R19 Goodyear tire, which normal CX-50s have Goodyears too, but these wheels are unique to the hybrid model. I think they look pretty nice. They're a little bit more aerodynamic looking, and it's one of the ways a keen-eyed could tell that this is a hybrid if you don't notice the big chrome and blue hybrid badge there on the fender. Before we jump into the interior, let's pop the hood, and we'll talk a little bit more about this powertrain. So this is a 2.5 liter four-cylinder with electric motors, with an eCVT. The CX-50 is all-wheel drive. We have hood struts, that's nice. And they even put their little Mazda engine cover here on this. So combined power output from this 2.5 is 219 horsepower, 163 pound-feet of torque. And this is not a light car. It weighs just over 4,000 pounds. It's about 200 pounds heavier than a regular CX-50 or CX-50 Turbo. So it's heavier and it has less power. So obviously it's significantly slower than a regular CX-50, but it's about 10 miles to the gallon more efficient than a similarly spec'd CX-50 Turbo, and it's about the same price. So it's kind of all about preference. If you really enjoy the way that the CX-50 looks, but you want to be efficient, then this may be the best of both worlds for you. We still get dual exhaust in the back. Excuse the dirty nature of this car, you can see. And you've been getting lots of ASMR from the salt, obviously, today, but it's that time of year and it's near impossible to keep the car clean. Anyways, let's check out our interior. So this Premium Plus has the black and brown leather option. You can also opt for all black if you don't want to have the brown cross stitching. Sat behind myself here at 5'11". You can see I've only got about an inch of room here in the back seat. The seats are slightly indented, and actually only the passenger side gets a seat back pocket. But looking beyond those sort of things, we do have some rear climate vents, which are always nice to see. We don't have a climate control panel back here, but we do get a couple of USB-C ports. We have a fold-down armrest with some cup holders. And I mean, interior trimmings back here, they're not the most impressive thing in the world. We have these kind of really cheap feeling plastic grab handles to pull the doors shut. Luckily though, some pretty good padding for rear seat passengers there for their elbows. And I don't know, there's not a whole lot of dimension going on back here. And it's a shame that Mazda won't let you option a double red car, because there is a red interior available for the CX-50 hybrid, but you can't have it with the sole red exterior, which is a little bit disappointing. Sometimes I like double red. But I think the brown cross stitching looks nice, and the kind of baseball style stitching reminds me of the old Audi TT, but also it kind of helps translate that rugged kind of adventure feel that they're going for with the CX-50. So now that we've looked at the back seat and the engine, why don't we jump up front, fire this thing up, because my hands are so cold that they're turning into claws. And unfortunately, actually, they're not going to be helped out by the steering wheel because it isn't heated. But okay, let's fire it up, and we'll let you listen to all 8 chimes of the Mazda. So this actually gets an extra chime because it's the hybrid. It gets like this kind of calm bling entrance, kind of like when you start a Toyota, but this one's a little bit more polite. Let's turn our climate control down. I'm going to take my jacket off, and then we'll show you this interior. I'm actually going to run this vent a little bit higher. I'm going to put my heated seat on and try and warm my crusty, dry hands that you guys probably have heard rubbing together for the intro, so I do apologize if you had to hear that. Anyways, up front, very largely unchanged. But what I do like about the CX-50 as opposed to other Mazdas is it has a touchscreen. And of course, we still have the control command knob or whatever they call that down here, but you're able to use Apple CarPlay as a touchscreen no matter what. You can even use it as a touchscreen while you're driving. Now, if we go back to our Mazda menu, this is not a touchscreen. So you have to use the command knob to actually get yourself into CarPlay, but once you're there, it's a touchscreen and you can do everything. It doesn't necessarily make things easier while you're on the road, but when you're stationary, if you just want to kind of lean forward and do stuff really quick, it is nice to have that functionality. Below that, we still have a very nice, satisfying to touch and click physical climate control panel. We've got heated and ventilated seats. The ventilated seats are a add-on to our Premium Plus package, along with power folding mirrors and these 19-inch wheels. I don't know that I would really pick Premium Plus just for those couple of things, but just so you guys know, that's what you get over the regular Premium. We've got our drive mode selector down here for trail, normal, or power mode. Of course, we'll try out normal and power once we're out on our little performance loop. We still have a volume knob. We still have a 12-speaker Bose sound system that's available on the top 2 trims. It sounds excellent. Of course, we'll give you a taste of that once we're rolling on the highway or once we're rolling into town later. Now let's get to our differences in this interior. And the biggest jump scare for me was seeing the exact shift knob that was in the Toyota Camry that I was driving last week here in this Mazda CX-50. It kind of tries to blend in with this bit of chrome trim to kind of disguise itself as a Mazda shift knob, but it most certainly is not. And then our gauge cluster is the same on the right 2/3, but on the left we have a different gauge. And I love that this is analog. I love that they didn't just throw this gauge cluster away to give us a fully digital cluster. I think that would have been the wrong move. This looks really nice. We can press our info button here on the steering wheel. You can see my average MPG this week has been 28.4. I've been doing some idling, I've been doing some spirited driving, and it's 27 degrees out, and I think earlier this week it was even colder. Hybrids and cars in general, they really just suffer in the winter months to achieve peak MPGs. So keep that in mind for our test today. Otherwise, interior trimmings overall pretty nice. We have this split folding armrest here in the middle, very soft leather on this, love to see it. More of this X cross stitching Audi TT style down the middle, but it is kind of hard, like this material here in the middle that's not the perforated leather, and I guess the perforated leather too, makes for a bit of a stiff experience. It's weird when you sit in the CX-50, you don't kind of sink down into the seat at all. It's almost like you're sitting on the seat as opposed to in it, if that makes sense. So I don't know for a long trip if this would be too comfortable. You do get used to it after a couple of minutes sitting in the car, but it was a little bit weird sitting in this for the first time. I don't remember this being a thing on other CX-50s. I don't know, maybe if it's just because it's cold out, the leather's a little bit harder, but that's just what I've observed. No heated steering wheel since we have a Premium Plus. Nice silver trimmings here on the wheel as well as the airbag cover. But okay, I think we've done enough sitting around in the parking lot. Ooh, memory seats. I should set that. There we go. Okay, set. Let's get the seatbelt on and let's go for a drive. I want you guys to hear this backup sound. This is weird because it has that pleasant kind of bloom, bloom, bloom. But then there's also this weird, very unpleasant noise that kind of sounds like you have a brake caliper that's sticking. It's like a rubbing noise that they simulate, I guess, just to, I mean, for pedestrian safety, as we know, but don't know that I love that too much. And here's where it still feels like a Mazda. When you haven't really gotten into that 2.5 and CVT yet, the steering still has a pretty significant amount of weight to it, even though Mazda went through last year and redesigned a couple of things, put a couple of different parts in this to make the steering not so heavy, because on the super early CX-50s, it was like unnecessarily heavy. But I think they've kind of struck a nice middle ground here for still making the steering feel unapologetically Mazda without having it unnecessarily heavy. Throttle and brake tuning feel quite nice. That's where it feels like a Toyota. It feels a lot like the Camry that I was driving last week. And that is just the weirdest thing to hear coming out of a Mazda. I have never, obviously this is new for this year, so I've never experienced that, and it's taken some getting used to. I feel like I'm in a Toyota. And obviously with this having the eCVT and everything, you don't notice the engine unless you're accelerating. Otherwise it essentially ceases to exist, especially when it drops down into EV mode. Also, I'm sure you guys are hearing that wub 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 noise. Quite a bad warped rotor. I think it's the driver's rear. So I just kind of wanted to start with that so you guys know when you're hearing this noise when I'm braking. It wasn't me. This is how it showed up. Okay, let's talk about the car for itself now. It was just in EV mode. It just came out of EV mode. I feel like I've noticed this car going into EV mode less than other hybrids, but I think that may just be because it's so cold, it doesn't really have the chance to. Let's come into this corner here. Decent grip from those Goodyear all-season tires, and joy of joys, we still have a pretty dang good steering feel in this. Definitely more communicative than any Toyota product. Usually those are super light, which I do like for a lot of scenarios, but if you're somebody that does enjoy driving, maybe you're going to take your CX-50 hybrid on a back road from time to time, if you live in California or something, then, I mean, this is nice. This is a very, I mean, as good as it can be for a CUV. Ride quality is also fantastic. I think Mazda does some of the best work as far as tuning of their dampers. You don't get an obnoxious amount of body roll with the CX-50. Obviously there's some, but it feels just about right. There's still a tightness to this chassis that is pretty impressive. Okay, we're gonna turn around here. We're gonna do an acceleration just so you guys can see what this is like off the line. And then we'll jump on the highway and we will commute it to downtown. Very soft throttle response, throttle inputs rather, can leave you in EV mode for extended periods of time. You also have an EV mode button over here to the right of your shifter, as any Toyota hybrid does. It looks like 25 miles per hour is our limit there for EV mode. Okay, let's stick this into power mode, and we'll see how it gets off the line. And 60. Okay. Other outlets have tested this to 60 in just under 8 seconds, which is like a second and a half slower than the turbo sibling. And hear that 4-cylinder scream. Okay. We're not going to go into trail mode because we're not going on any trails, and we actually don't have an eco mode. There does seem to be a pretty good amount of sound deadening behind the firewall of the CX-50. While you do hear quite a bit of drone under initial acceleration, it's not as offensive as the Crown Signia even. The Crown Signia I was driving a couple weeks ago was definitely louder upon acceleration. The CX-50 seems to tone things down quite a bit. That heated seat gets nice and toasty. I just wish I had a heated steering wheel with this Premium Plus trim, but it is what it is. See there, if you're very gentle with it, it is pretty impressively quiet. Even getting up to speed here, merging at what should be 70, but is actually 50 today. Wind noise, road intrusion, all very within line for the segment. And you have the torque to merge. It's got to rev itself out quite a bit. We're up to highway speeds now. Surprisingly, these Goodyears are actually pretty quiet. I think we're getting a lot of noise off of this Ram here in front of us. I am toasty. Okay, well, let's talk about highway manners. What's this like to sit in on the highway? Start off with driving position. Very easy to see out of, and this has kind of always been a CX-50 thing. Pretty open greenhouse here in this car. You can see plenty fine out of that rear window. And with the seat in the lowest possible position here, I don't feel like, I know I said I feel like I'm sitting on the seat, but I don't feel like I'm sitting on top of the car. Seating position is just about perfect, exactly how I like it here in this CX-50. Elbow comfiness is fantastic, super, super soft. Center console layout here, split folding as well, so your passenger can grab stuff out of the console without you having to lift your elbow. And driver's door panel is great as well. Mazda's kind of always done a good job at this. Emily's CX-30, very comfy elbows. As far as driver aids go, we've got just about everything you need here. Cruise control, pretty easy to set up, really straightforward, and I love these steering wheel buttons overall. I like that they have up and down functions as opposed to being separate buttons. The up and down volume is one button, as well as skipping or replaying a track. Changing your cluster design with the info button, it's all very easy. We can adjust our, oops, I just canceled my cruise control on accident as I'm saying how easy things are. Easy to reset there. We can adjust our following distance very, very easily here on the steering wheel too. Let's see, we'll set this a little bit higher and we'll see how this executes a pass. Nice, okay. Here's what I like about this adaptive cruise control system. It starts accelerating while you're mid-lane change, and that is essential for not being a nuisance to everyone around you, because I found with some of these adaptive cruise systems, they wait until you've fully changed lanes, and then they wait a couple more seconds, and then they accelerate. I want this, as soon as I put the signal on, honestly, I want this to start kind of figuring out what it's going to do for a pass. And this does a pretty dang good job at that. Yeah, and ergonomically as well. You know, I can sit my hands here on the steering wheel with my elbows very comfortably rested. I can see everything. It's just a nice experience in this CX-50. We have a couple baby interior rattles in here. I have found, obviously, cars rattle more in the winter because the plastics don't expand. And there's one, I think it's in this driver's door panel, or maybe kind of this kick panel here under the dashboard. Something is squeaking just a bit. I don't even know if the mics are picking that up, but pretty minor overall. And here's the best thing about the CX-50 is, yes, the Toyota powertrain, it drones a little bit. There's a couple baby interior rattles, but you can turn this 12-speaker Bose up and all of it goes away. So let's go ahead and test that now and show you what that's all about. Just a very kind of rich, hearty sound from this Bose. And when you have songs that are a little bit more bass heavy, there's a lot of power from in front of you even. So really clever speaker spacing in the CX-50, and Mazda Boses are always really quite good. I'm nervous because I'm seeing some red up here. I hope we're not going to be sitting in too much traffic, but overall, sound system in this, fantastic. And I mean, I wouldn't doubt Mazda Bose for a second. The 12-speaker systems, the one in Emily's CX-30, I would say is maybe even a little bit better, maybe just because of the greenhouse in that car, but I'm loving it overall. Heated seats going back on. Let's see how long we can stay in EV mode here. Looks like if you give it any more than like 10% throttle, it's kicking you out. So I want to talk a little bit about the spec of this car again. With this being a Premium Plus, I've never really seen the value in getting a Premium Plus Mazda over just a Premium, because the Premium Plus, usually it's a couple grand more, and you don't really get all that much extra. It just doesn't seem like it's worth it. I mean, I gave you guys those couple of options that you get over the regular Premium, but the important options that you still do get in the Premium, like this 12-speaker Bose, make it so the Premium Plus, just in my opinion, is not necessary. Not to mention the fact that the Premium gets 17-inch wheels over the 19s that you get on the Premium Plus, so it's going to ride better. And you save a couple of grand. I think the Premium's like 37 or 38,000, so you could potentially be out the door under 40 grand with a Premium CX-50 hybrid, and I think that's fantastic. Okay, we don't need anything from the grocery store, but I do just want to show placing in a parking spot here, so we'll pull off just for a second. And parked. We're gonna leave this running. We're gonna jump out real quick. You can see pretty decent size next to that RAV4 Infusion here. I mean, it is, you know, it's the normal size for one of these compact crossovers, and you're gonna have no problem being in a busy parking lot like this, as this lady probably thinks something's wrong with me as I'm talking to myself with a camera on my face, but there you go. Just wanted to show you guys spacing. Let's leave because this parking lot is just dreadful right now. I have an idea. let's leave. Also, though, important to show you maneuverability. I think Mazda steering wheels are just about the perfect size. I mean, this just feels great in the hands. I love kind of the open feel of this cabin as well, and they're able to achieve this and still give you lots of places to put things. You guys hopefully have seen my phone up there in front of the cup holders this whole drive, and then you also have a wireless charger right in front of the armrest. So there's 2 places to put phones. Obviously, you could stick things in the cup holders if you don't have drinks. And this is a very sizable center console too. I have quite a few things in there, so I think this would be nice for a road trip for you and your spouse. If they're anything like Emily, they come with lots of different drinks and other things that go places in the car. This can accommodate all of that. Okay, so as we get into town here, let's talk about this car. What does it mean? Does it make sense? Would I have it? As a CX-50, no, I wouldn't have it, because I prefer the turbo models. I think that the ethos of Mazda, they're still unique enough to where if I wanted to have a Mazda, I would get a CX-50 turbo, have the 320 pound-feet of torque. I would do the thing. However, I think this car makes sense for a certain group of people, and there's about to be a horrific accident in front of me right now. Oh my goodness. Rush hour, blind spots, it's all happening. I think this car makes sense for some people, because if you're somebody that wants a RAV4, but you want a little bit nicer interior build quality, you want a nice Bose 12-speaker sound system, you want the exterior design of a Mazda, well then here you go. This car exists. If you want that bulletproof, reliable hybrid powertrain in a very pretty body with nice interior amenities, then this may just be the perfect solution for you. Personally, I don't think I'd have it, but I do really like that it exists. And I also like that it's not replacing anything. This is not replacing the CX-50 Turbo or even the regular CX-50. This is simply an addition. And more options are always good, as we know.
Please select an event from the screen menu.
Greetings and thank you.
Welcome. Please.
Okay, the height's a little bit awkward for that, but we got it. Do we have 4 auto? We've got 4 auto up-down windows in this. That's fantastic. So it's the little things like that, I think, that make this make a lot of sense. And this shouldn't be super out of left field for anybody. Like I said earlier, you know, they've been making CX-50s alongside other Toyota products in the Madison, Alabama plant now for the last few years. So this is a partnership that I like, and I think that it's not over Toyota-fied. The Toyota shift knob, I think that's probably the strangest thing in here for me, but it has to stem off of this ECVT, so it is what it is. And this is just overall, I think it's a great product, in my opinion. It's a nice car. Let's see if we can give you a taste of this EV. I swear, it sounds like something's dragging. It's not the most pleasant EV noise. Obviously, hybrid transitions from electric to ICE are absolutely seamless, considering that it's a Toyota source powertrain. Toyota is kind of they kind of pioneered this technology. They're the experts when it comes to this. And that's another thing. I feel like this is a bit of an experimental product to kind of see how people take it, how people react, because we know Mazda has their own hybrid tech, as I said earlier. So I wonder if they're kind of just seeing what flavor of hybrid people like, seeing what does the best in this kind of experimental phase. So I'm curious to hear in the comments what you guys think about this. If you think that Mazda should have done this, or if you think that, hey, if they wanted a 4-cylinder CVT hybrid setup in this, if they made the right choice by just going to their friends at Toyota. So overall, as a cohesive package, I like it. It drives nice. It's been nice to live with this week. And if you're looking at a RAV4, why not give one of these a shot as well? Cool. Well, let's park up here. This roof is open for the first time in weeks. I think it's just been solid ice up here is why they closed it, but glad to have it back. I want to go back through like all of the Topher Drives videos over the last couple of years and watch the progress of this building, because I feel like at first we probably couldn't even see it over the top of the structure, but now it's huge, it's blue. Very neat. Well, and parked right next to it. Why not? And unlike Toyota products, parking brake does not apply itself automatically, but it's well within reach in a good spot right here next to the shifter. So, okay, let's shut this thing off. We'll give you one last look at it. And genuinely, I am curious to hear your thoughts in the comments, because you guys, I've been torn all week. I'm like, what do I think about this car? I'm like, it's so weird because it doesn't feel like a Mazda, but yet it still kind of does. So I don't know. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Tell me if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. That's the beauty of the comment section. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.